The anime begins at the restaurant where Takuma breaks up with his girlfriend Akane, apologizing that he loves someone else he met in an online game. The news is not entirely shocking for Akane. She had already noticed his cold behavior in the recent past. Upon hearing about their breakup, Akane's friend is taken aback. She deems Takuma as the creepy computer freak who first indulged Akane in online games and later dumped her for one of the girls he met in the online games. Gutted by the deceit suffered at the hands of Takuma, Akane shows Momo a text message from Takuma about retrieving his expensive equipment after giving it to her during their relationship. Momo finds it ridiculous and advises her friend Akane to move on with her life instead of crying for someone so inconsiderate as Takuma. With nothing much left in her life to keep her busy, Akane logs on to Forest of Savior, the online game that she and Takuma used to play together, and Akane discovers that he has already removed her from his friend list. While Akane is busy bursting out her anger on the creatures, she comes across a no-masked familiar guy. He is Yamada, a player from the same guild, as she asks if she is looking for the Prophet's Stone, a rare treasure with 0.01 chances of finding one. Akane had been seeking a person to talk with, and she strives to begin a chat with Yamada. However, she notices Yamada's reluctance to respond her. She continues to speak to him. She explains that she's just looking for monsters to let off some steam after being dumped the day before. Yamada is uninterested in her problems and coldly inquires if he can camp her spot to hunt for the Seer Stone. Agonized by his self-centered approach, she blatantly declines any help in this regard and even bursts out at him for being so inconsiderate about a girl who is down in the dumps due to her breakup. Yamada agrees but bitterly tells her that he does not care about her problems. Suddenly, Akane's attention is grabbed by the announcement of a live event announcement for the Forest of Savior's first anniversary being held in her locality. Recalling her pleasant moments spent with Takuma, Akane wonders if he and his new girlfriend will also attend the event. The next day, Momo greets Akane on her way to the school. Akane expresses her desire to go shopping and requests Momo to accompany her. Momo finds out the event relates to the game which Akane and Takuma are mad about. She realizes that Akane is seeking her help to make Takuma regret dumping her. Strolling through the shops one after the other, Akane buys herself whatever she deems essential for the event. After shopping, Akane gets a total makeover. Surprisingly, the event is far more crowded than she expected. She wonders if she will even come across Takuma in the event flooded with players across the area. On the event day, she sees Takuma and his girlfriend. Akane cannot hold herself from chasing Takuma, but she loses them in the crowd after she bumps into someone and falls to the ground. Akane sobs in embarrassment and apologizes to the stranger for bumping into him, but he appears uninterested. Before walking away, he tells her that he doesn't care about her problems. The last line intrigues Akane. She swiftly recognizes the familiar voice. It has to be Yamada, who she met in the game yesterday. She calls him to verify his identity. Instead of replying, the man asks who she is. Amidst their introduction, Takuma shocks to find Akane standing beside Yamada, an esteemed pro gamer. Grabbing the opportunity to further shock Takuma, Akane asserts that Yamada is her boyfriend. When Yamada attempts to deny her assertion, Akane offers him the Prophet's Stone and he agrees to help her in the play. Takuma knees before Akane in guilt, but Akane still appears distant as Takuma still clings onto his new girl's shoulder to cry instead of Akane. Akane and Yamada visit a pub where he explains his profession as a gamer. Even the sponsors of the game pay him for his contributions. Akane advises him to become more polite with girls, but he does not seem interested in the girls at all. Surprisingly, he buys an aid box and treats her wounds. Touched by his care and attention, which she needed direly at this stage, Akane orders rounds of drinks for Yamada. The next day, Akane opens her eyes and trembles in shock to find herself with Yamada. The events from yesterday, the drinks, her vulnerable emotional state, and her changed clothes, everything seems to hint at a one-night stand. However, Yamada clarifies that he took her home just to help her instead of abandoning her. When she dozed off due to excessive drinking, Yamada brought her to his place, washed her soiled clothes, and even paid her dues in the pub. Yamada brings her the washed clothes, but feeling embarrassed, Akane hastily runs away from the apartment to save her face. She heads back to her home and lies on her bed, recalling the moments from her encounter with Yamada and the paperwork she had been delaying lately. Suddenly, she realizes that her necklace is missing. She hurries in the washroom, combs all over her room, but fails to find a trace of the precious necklace. It turns out that the necklace was her first gift from Takuma. He grabs her laptop and logs into the game to inquire Yamada about the laptop. Akane believes the necklace dropped off her neck when she changed clothes at Yamada's place. However, her misery does not end here. Yamada appears to be offline. This is when Akane comes across Ruri, a kind friend and the leader of their guild. Ruri inquires what happened to Akane, and Akane narrates the events from the past days, from breakup to the necklace lost at a boy's place. Their discussion is interrupted when Yamada comes online. Initially, Yamada completely ignores Akane, but later pings a cold reply that the necklace is not his place either. Yamada looks down on Akane and rebukes her for keeping the guild's storage filled with below-average stuff. Gutted by his insolent remarks, Akane immediately logs off and decides to never play the game with them. On the flip side, Yamada accidentally steps over a necklace at his place. He collects the remnants and decides to hand it over to Akane in their next encounter. Later in the night, Akane experiences a nightmare and hurries off her bed, where Takuma comes back into her life, apologizes for dumping her, and hands her a gift which opens up with his new girlfriend inside it. Later in the day, Akane joins Momo at a restaurant. Momo curiously inquires about her experience with Yamada. However, Akane clarifies that nothing out of the ordinary happened between them. Yamada just helped her out. Momo rebukes Akane for always scheduling things around herself. Momo asserts that Akane pushes herself unnecessarily for pleasing others. Akane is ready to depart for home to catch a train when she witnesses two high school girls confessing their love for a boy. The incident reminds her of the time when she confessed love for her senior Sato. Akina shocks to know that the boy is Yamada, and she accidentally addresses Yamada, who turns his head towards Akane to recognize her. Akane advised Yamada to learn how to comprehend people's emotions instead of playing games. Yamada gives her necklace back and she leaves, but Yamada chases her outside to hand over the umbrella to cover herself in the rain. The next morning, Akane wakes up to the continuous bells at her door. She opens the door flooded with parcels from her mother, Mrs. Kinoshia. Apparently, her mother cleaned her house to spare some space and sent her the entire belongings from her childhood. When asked for Momo, Mom rebukes Akane for keeping things stuffed around her for no reason. Momo stresses that she must learn to let go of the things. Eventually, Akane agrees with her advice and throws away everything except a teddy from her grandmother. After drinks at the cafeteria, both friends arrive at Yamada's apartment, but he doesn't seem pleased with their arrival. When drunk Momo annoys Yamada, he threatens to call the cops if they don't leave immediately. Akane thanks Yamada for standing by her side when she needed it the most and starts to leave his place. Surprisingly, Yamada addresses Akane and invites her to join them back in the game. Akane gratefully thanks him for his help in the game. Momo has organized a group date for Akane. She looks very excited about the date, but Akane, on the other hand, seems least interested. The guy relentlessly approaches Akane to begin a conversation, but she does not pay any heed to his words and keeps herself busy with the phone. Their brief conversation during the entire date is about the online games particularly. Akane's reluctance to respond to the boy ends up messing up Momo's date as well. On their return from the group date, Momo appears quite upset about the outcome and rebukes Akane for her apparent coldness. On the flip side, Akane kept herself busy with Ruri, and she was the reason for her distraction during the date. When Akane conveys Ruri's desire for the meetup, Momo expresses her reservations with the online game avatars. What if Ruri is a random aged man operating behind a girl's character? Although it has been a while since Takuma and Akane have parted ways, she is still caught up in the influence of her past. Akane wonders if she will ever be able to build a relationship like Takuma and his new girlfriend. The next day, the guy from the group date comes across Akane as she heads out of the school. The guy strives to build a conversation while Akane attempts to recall his name but fails. He invites Akane to join them at Okinawa, but Akane politely declines his request. Suddenly, a girl who appears to be wearing a cosplay outfit similar to Ruri-chan's character outfit path with Akane. Akane is confused if she is Ruri or some random girl. Caught in the confusion, Akane does not proceed with calling her name. Akane returns home and opens the game. She seems excited to find Ruri and talk to her about the day, but the guild seems empty. She does not find an active participant. Suddenly, she notices Ruri and Yamada on the other side of the window. It appears that Yamada and Ruri have completely ignored her login notification. As she strides closer to the window, Akane can now easily hear their conversation when Yamada and Ruri talk about the experience of their guild when they used to be only two players here. To her surprise, Yamada appears completely comfortable with Ruri inching closer to him. Their closeness impels Akane to think of them as a couple. Yamada immediately says goodbye to Ruri after seeing Akane online. Entirely opposite to Ruri, Yamada's cold response towards Akane further ascertains her doubts about the relationship between Yamada and Ruri. Akane claims to have no feelings for Yamada and his closeness should not hurt Akane, but deep down Akane is shattered to know about Yamada's relationship. Akane believes that the girl standing beside Yamada at the metro station must be Ruri, and they are surely in a relationship. The revelation of their relationship has left Akane down in the dumps. She seems to have lost interest in the game as well. At night, Ruri invites her to the forest of the Savior-themed cafe. At first, she was reluctant to accept the invitation, due to her depressed state and Momo's reservations, but Ruri's persuasion convinces her to join them. The next day, Akane catches up to the metro to find the Murata building. Despite using the map, she is still confused with the location and ends up at a pretty distant place. In the haste to find the location, she runs into Ada, a good-looking boy who seems quite familiar with the game. Ada takes her toward the destination and keeps her busy with his non-stop game gossip. Upon reaching the cafe, Akane finds a girl waving toward them, the same girl whom she saw with Yamada the other day. Akane rushes towards Yamada standing in the background. She enthusiastically introduces herself to the girls, mistaking her for Ruri, but the girl looks at Akane strangely, which confuses Akane. Ruri's real-life avatar is entirely different from the game. Taking their seats in the cafe, Ida and the old man admire the impressive decor and peruse the enticing menu. However, Tension quickly mounts between Akane and the girl seated opposite her. The girl adamantly denies being Ruri and confronts Akane, her questioning taking on a menacing tone as she demands to know Akane's true identity and her purpose among them. Sensing the need to defuse the escalating situation, Yamada suggests they commence with proper introductions. Seizing the moment, Ida bravely speaks up and shocks everyone with a revelation. He confesses to being Princess Ruri in the game, instantly flipping Akane's perception of him. Ida's image shifts from that of a decent young man to that of an Akama, a term used for men who impersonate girls in the game. Upon hearing this unexpected revelation, Akane's emotions are sent into a tailspin. She is taken aback, struggling to process the fact that the person behind the avatar she knows so well is right in front of her. The girl confronting her turns out to be Runa, Ada's sister. Runa glares at Akane, glaring her teeth in anger when she senses a hint of Akane's feelings for Yamada. Akane clarifies that she does not entail any feelings for Yamada, but Runa is adamant to tease out the truth. Amidst the chaos, Akane fails to keep herself composed and the glass falls off her hands in tension. Yamada abstains from touching the sharp pieces and leaves the site to let her settle. As their meetup approaches its end, Akane realizes that Mr. Komodo is quite a generous man and Akane apologizes for the earlier commotion. Yamada and Ida ate with friends. Runa reacted after learning that Yamada and Akane knew each other from before. Runa is gazing at Akane, and Akane can feel her angry aura towards her. In tension, she broke the glass. Outside the cafe, when Ida pushes him to understand the girls and be more considerate towards their feelings, Yamada experiences a tragic flashback of a crying young girl. Upon conclusion of their short meeting, Akane proceeds with Yamada on the metro. Inside the train, Akane tries to begin a conversation, but even her impulsive blustering does not help the cause. Upon reaching their stop, Yamada takes her to the nearby shop and buys her some puddings. When Akane comes to know that Yamada does not have anyone to cook for him, he relies on buying cooked stuff. She hurries into her apartment and brings him curry and frozen rice. Even though she is tight on cash, but Akane is generous enough to help her friends. Akane receives a call from Runa, who invites her for some activity on coming Saturday. Akane quickly accepts her invitation. She is happy to settle her terms with Runa and move ahead with their friendship. When Yamada returns home, he recalls having marked a home tutoring job for Runa on his calendar. It's the same date Runa guaranteed Akane they would hang out again. Lost in thoughts from yesterday, when Yamada receives a call from Ida when inquires, Yamada responds that he had been setting the DPIs for the game. Ida reminds him to bring the requested manga when he will come for tutoring. On the other hand, Runa calls Akane for a meetup, but she does not show at the cafe and sends an ominous man who confuses her as Ruri. Akane attempts to tell him that she is not Ruri, but the man does not believe her in any of her clarifications and keeps on calling her Ruri. With no other way to save herself from the mess, she runs to the restroom to call Runa, but she does not pick up her call. Meanwhile, Yamada reaches Runa's place where her mother welcomes him inside. Yamada heads straight to her room and inquires about Akane. Their conversation is interrupted when Runa rejects the calls from Akane. Meanwhile, Akane's relief from the man is short-lived as he follows her to the ladies' restroom, knocking and pushing the door to get his hands on her. Petrified to death, Akane feels like her life is about to end. It turns out that Runa had set this all up to get rid of Akane. She cannot stand her presence in their company. Yamada begins to leave her room while Runa pulls him to shed the thoughts of Akane forever. This is when Ida enters the room, his hands loaded with refreshments. Ida flips on his head at the revelation and immediately logs into his ID to find out where Runa placed this trap for Akane. They leave in Mr. Komodo's car towards the direction, and even Mr. Komodo shivers in tension at the matter. Witnessing their care and attention for Akane further ignites Runa's rage for Akane. However, her brother Ida scolds Runa for ditching someone who trusted in her. They rush to the hotel and find Akane sitting opposite a man with bandages on her leg. However, the man clarifies that her bandages are because of the accident inside the washroom. The man barged into the ladies' washroom to offer her medicines for her depleted health. Fretted by his presence, she smashed her leg with a commode. Akane's friends drive off the man from the site and anxiously inquire about her well-being. Akane, sensing the sensitivity hidden beneath Runa's tough exterior, requests her to stay by her side and sends the others to fetch medicines from the nearby store. Despite her pain, Akane acknowledges the remorse in Runa's eyes when she cried out earlier and rushed to her aid. With genuine compassion, Akane apologizes for any inconvenience caused and humbly asks to join Runa's team. Overwhelmed with emotion, Runa tearfully apologizes for her previous behavior, her heart touched by Akane's understanding and kindness. When the boys bring them medicine, Yamada realizes that the call for medicine was a pretext for Akane to console young Runa and settle their differences. Brought up like a princess, Runa's childhood has been different from the rest, a girl who loves and cares about those she's familiar with and keeps a concealed resentment for those who attempt to close in with the people she loves. Even in her school, she does not have many real-life friends. Maybe it's an effect of the abusive behaviors of senior students towards her in the initial days, which led her to complete isolation in her school. Runa is contented with her hundreds of online friends and does not pay much attention to what her classmates think of her. Runa possesses a strong aversion to anything she perceives as strange or different. Girls who chatter incessantly, engage in frivolous activities, or display clumsy behavior raise red flags in Runa's eyes. Ever since her childhood, she's been the crush for several boys, but her plain dress collection is a considerable hindrance for boys. She's often deemed as an alien in the class who appears entirely unbothered by the class activities ever. Despite her introverted nature, Runa has surprisingly formed a deep and meaningful bond with Akane, a girl who is older and enjoys things that are quite the opposite of Runa's preferences. Akane loves dancing, gets excited about celebrities, and engages in activities that Runa would typically avoid. Even though Akane is not family or some childhood friends, and even though there is a clear distinction in their preferences, Runa still feels a sense of excitement in her company. Momo expresses her desperate desire to fall in love. She wants to be married at the earliest in pursuance of her timeline. Even her mother had married by the time she turned 20, but for the sake of marrying someone, she first needs to be in a relationship. Momo asks Akane to join her on the group date, but Akane's entire attention is on the game where she is being aided by Runa. Momo bursts out on Akane for acting childish with a runaway from the middle school. Momo mentions Yamada and wonders how lucky Akane is to have met him. Akane clarifies that they do not share any feelings. Although they have been drawn closer in the recent past, he only helps in the game. He is someone who will quickly respond to a game query, but he will take hours to respond to a single thing about his life. Yamada helps her elevate her level in the game. Akane has implied his spells saw a considerable rise in her level. Notified by a system message, Akane rushes towards Yamada Avatar and tells him about her success lately. Yamada rebukes her for wrongly implying the gadgets and offers her to use his leftover products instead. Akane demonstrates unwavering confidence in herself. She decides to hunt down the monsters and earn herself the Vits. Akane invites Momo to join them in the game. She believes Momo can keep herself away from the wandering thoughts if she stays busy in the game. Thought her laptop burns down to smoke even before Momo can touch it. Runa informs her brother about Akane's laptop, who asks Yamada to help Akane with her computer. The next day, Runa gets Yamada to Akane's house as a repairman. Akane rushes to the kitchen to bring some refreshments. Runa points at her bra hanging above Yamada, and Akane swiftly reacts and saves herself from the embarrassment. While Yamada is putting his best to restore Akane's laptop, Runa and Ida plan on making a love comedy of the situation. Runa combs for the perfect opportunity to pull off her plan, but she eventually ends up throwing Akane on Yamada. In her haste attempt to get up, Akane hurts Yamada's eyes with her hair, and she holds his face to see his eyes, which makes Yamada unsettled, and he leaves the apartment saying he will be back with the instruments to repair the computer. With a flashback of his childhood friend crossing his mind, Yamada goes to the nearby convenience store and buys himself a bottle of brown tea rice. Intrigued by his iterative purchase of the tea rice, the saleswoman inquires whether he has developed a liking of this product. The girl calls in when he is on his way out of the store. The girl recognizes the uniform from the Tasi Academy and calls herself a graduate of the same institute. She asks Yamada for an introduction, but he excuses as he is in a hurry. Back at the apartment, he sees that Runa and Akane have fallen asleep after lunch. Yamada carefully places the tools beside Akane and begins the repair, but he becomes intrigued by the hair clip binding her hair. He finds himself captivated by the beauty of her golden locks and can't resist the urge to release them from their confinement. As he does so, her hair cascades down, and the air seems to be filled with admiration for its beauty. Just as Yamada is entranced by her appearance, the ringing of a bell startles him, pulling him out of Akane's enchanting spell. Takuma is surprised to see Yamada at Akane's apartment and introduces himself as a big fan. He then asks why he is at Akane's apartment and recognizes that he must be Akane's new boyfriend. Takuma cannot stand Akane with such a famous boy. He has been stalking Yamada all over social media in anticipation of a post with Akane as a couple. Takuma is here to hand over Akane's tiffin boxes left at his place. Since their relationship has met fate, there is no point in keeping her things at his place. Takuma expresses his desire to see Akane to ensure her well-being. He had been worried for her condition after the breakup. Yamada abstains him from entering the house and assures him that Akane is in the best of health and spirits. Akane has been eavesdropping behind the door, pretending to be unbothered. She thanks Yamada for handling Takuma for her. As they enter the house, Yamada gives her the hairpin and maintains that he had unclipped it from her hair while she was sleeping. He answers a call from Ida, leaving the con confused. Later, Akane appears in the interview for a part-time job at the nearby convenience store. Akane tells Momo about the laptop recovery. It was Ida who helped her replace those expensive parts for free. She feels embarrassed for not paying Ida, so Momo advises her to ask him later for the expenses. As her laptop has been recovered, Akane logs in after a while and meets Ida in the lobby and asks him about the expense incurred on the repair. Ida denies uttering anything because he has promised Yamada to keep it secret. However, she can help Ida in return for the favor by raiding a dungeon. During their conversation, Ida introduces her to the Micronus member, the submaster of the guild, Mr. Tezeko. It's Akane's first experience seeing Kazeko's character. At school, a boy asks Yamada to be in the festival pageant, but he declines as he has already been asked to represent FOS alongside Run, Akane, and Takezo at the festival by Ida. Throughout the school day, Yamada's phone keeps ringing non-stop. When he finally returns to the classroom, he discovers that Tsubaki, one of his classmates, had placed a towel underneath his phone to dampen the noise. As he hands back the towel, Tsubaki mentions that she watched his match and comments on his performance, noting that he didn't do well. She speculates that it might be due to him slacking off in MO games. Yamada tries to explain that there was an issue with the server, but Tsubaki dismisses it as an excuse. Today is a special day. Akane arrives with Runa at Yamada's school on the 53rd Tusi Festival. Akane has sacrificed her sleep to be at Yamada's school. Despite working on the research paper and night shift at the convenience store, she has still managed to appear with Runa and Miss Tokezo. However, amidst the festivities at school, Runa appears dozed off. Mr. Tozeko maintains that she is nervous about applying to the school next year. While strolling through the cosplay cafes and students demonstrating their skills, Runa cracks down with anxiety and goes to the bathroom while Akane waits for her. Akane wonders what Yamada will be doing in the festival. She has not seen him anywhere in the school yet. The phone rings with a notification from Ida asking the girls to see him 15 minutes from now. Suddenly, she sees Yamada, helping the girls who stumble with the packing cotton in their hands. Akane waves her hand and calls his name, but her attempts go unnoticed in this crowded area as Yamada goes back to the class. Upon settling the boxes in the class, Yamada informs Tsubaki that he will be back in a while. Outside the class, Akane begins to leave the restroom area after waiting for a long. She suddenly senses a hand approaching her from behind. Akane unconsciously looks back and finds Yamada standing behind her. Meanwhile, Tsubaki glares at them in the background while they are engaged in a conversation. Runa is taken to the doctor for a brief checkup. The doctor maintains that she is just experiencing an exam phobia. Akane takes Yamada to bring food and a cosplay shirt for Runa to cheer her up. On their way to the stall, they are the center of attention in the school. Wherever they go, the gaze of students follows them in astonishment. Finding Yamada with a girl is nothing short of a shock for the students as well as the tutors. The girls confront Akane, asking her if she and Yamada are dating, and they can barely escape from their probing eyes. Ida and Tozeko join them near the basketball court, their hands loaded with festival delicacies. Ida playfully jokes that they should start dating since people suspect they are already a couple, and Yamada joins in, making Akane feel embarrassed. She quickly runs away and accidentally bumps into Tsubaki, who advises her to walk more slowly. Yamada rushes after Akane to explain himself. He completely ignores Tsubaki standing in his way and hurries onto Akane and stops her from using the dangerous stairs. Akane clarifies that she is not mad but somewhat embarrassed, which makes her walk away. Their discussion is short-lived as the gallery is instantly flooded with girls from the school, all eager to catch a glimpse of the girl whom Yamada is allegedly dating. Overwhelmed by the probing eyes, Akane drags Yamada to a deserted place for a peaceful discussion. When Yamada reiterates his apology, Akane clarifies that she is not mad at all, but rather embarrassed by Ida's joke, which is why she left the site. However, as she turns towards Yamada, she senses a spark in his eyes which appear entirely different from usual. Curiously inquiring about the outcome if she takes the matter seriously, Akane quickly realizes the sensitivity of the question and changes the topic. As she begins to leave, her footsteps come to a sudden halt in shock upon hearing Yamada's reply. Yamada expresses that it would be an honor to date her, deeming Akane as one of the most esteemed persons to him. Akane is reflective of his words before they set out to buy food together for Runa. A while ago, Yamada's friends begged him to join a pageant in the forthcoming festival. Yamada might have half-heartedly agreed under his friend's influence, but he does not appear convinced as expected. Yamada ditches his friends on the day of the festival, leaving them stranded among the throng of angry crowd. A few days later, Yamada decides to pay a visit to the convenience store where Akane works. As he enters, Akane greets him warmly and invites him to participate in drawing a prize for the store's ongoing promotion. While they engage in the fun activity, Akane's senior, Shinohara, curiously inquires about Yamada, teasingly asking if Akane likes him, causing her cheeks to blush in embarrassment. Feeling a bit flustered, Akane then asks Yamada to stay a little longer as her shift is about to end, suggesting they walk home together. Stepping out of the store, Akane is hit by a realization that even if she has met Yamada through some game, she must consider herself lucky to have a friend like Yamada, kind, considerate, and respectful. While walking together, Akane hands Yamada the meal she prepared for him as gratitude for saving her PC. Glancing at Yamada at the zebra crossing, Akane thinks she must quit seeing him often to buzz off these weird feelings breeding for Yamada. As Momo offers Akane a nail job, Akane opens up about her concerns regarding Yamada. She shares how his thoughtfulness and kindness are making her anxious, as she has never experienced someone speaking so highly of her before, especially the words he said about her at the festival. Akane worries that it might be a trap or something she cannot fully trust. Momo notices her friend's eagerness to talk about Yamada, wanting to understand him better and alleviate her concerns. Amidst their chattering, Akane receives a call from Runa, who urgently asks for a meetup. Worried, Akane meets her at the park, where Runa reveals her concerns about a new female guild member. Runa discloses that they build this guild only for their family, but Ada and now Yamada are expanding it without her consent. Runa fears that the new guild member may become friends with Akane, and Runa may end up losing her only female friend. Akane consoles her, assuring Runa that things will be fine and that they can all become friends just like Runa and Akane did. Despite Akane's attempts to ease her worries, Runa remains anxious about the potential loss of Akane's friendship due to the new member. Meanwhile, Tsubaki overhears some gossip in the school about an anonymous couple and decides to seek advice on love from Okamoto and Yamada. Okamoto believes they are not qualified to advise as they have never had girlfriends. However, Tsubaki expresses gratitude to Yamada for introducing her to his guild master in the game, acknowledging that she rarely talks about gaming with her female friends who prioritize dating over gaming. Later, while walking home, Tsubaki subtly asks Yamada about Akane, intending to quietly tease out any hints about their relationship. She pretends to have forgotten the girl's name and face, but in reality, Akane's name and image have been etched in her mind ever since she met her. Akane calls Yamada, and he is thrilled to hear her voice but becomes concerned about her health. He reminds her to take care of herself and get enough rest. During one of her tutoring sessions with Yamada, Runa calls Akane and becomes saddened after learning about her poor health. Runa fears the worst, claiming that Akane sounds like she's about to die. At the same time, Akane is struggling at home, feeling weak and unable to even drink water properly. Realizing that she hasn't eaten anything, she decides to go out and buy ingredients to cook a meal. However, she can barely manage to walk and ends up stumbling on a bike. Thankfully, Yamada comes to her rescue, catching her before she faints and offering his support and assistance. Tsubaki meets Okamoto, who asks her if Yamada has picked up her calls, and she replies that he has not. Tsubaki asserts that he must be busy with his tutoring sessions. Okamoto doubts that Yamada can be with the girl from the festival and reminds Tsubaki to stay on her toes or else she will end up losing Yamada to some other girl. With tears plundering her eyes, Tsubaki responds that she is certain that one day Yamada will meet the girl of life, just like she met Yamada coincidentally. She knows the coming risks and Okamoto must not pressurize her. He is with a girl, but Tsubaki thinks otherwise. Tsubaki gets sad over Yamada for not appearing. She recalls how she first met him and started liking him after seeing him play a game. She fears about how someday Yamada will meet someone he likes. One day in the past, Tsubaki approached Yamada in the school and asked him to teach her famous FPS game GOS. Yamada took her and Okamoto to his place. Hours passed and Tsubaki stood by his shoulder while Yamada showcased his skills to her. Over time, Yamada opened up with Tsubaki. Upon inquiring, Tsubaki came to know that Yamada does not have any interest in getting into a relationship. Even after a year in the class, he still does not have anyone around. Yamada went on to tell Tsubaki about a girl from his past who liked him, but students started bullying her in the school. She found a shelter in Yamada and always stayed around him. However, Yamada was only following the instructions from his tutor and had no feelings for her. However, one day when the girl insisted on Yamada for a relationship, he pulled out, leaving her heartbroken. The girl eventually went on to change them. Ever since the incident, Yamada abstains to hover around girls. On the flip side, Yamada exhausts all of his efforts to care for Akane. He brings her water and cold packs to alleviate her fever, but it seems like her fever is stubbornly persistent. Akane can hardly open her eyes when she hears Yamada's voice, inquiring about her health insurance card. Despite feeling weak, Yamada quickly grabs the card and takes her to the nearby hospital. Holding her in his arms, Yamada brings her back home after the treatment. In the middle of the night, Akane wakes up and sees Yamada asleep by her bedside. Overwhelmed with emotion, Akane still believes that Yamada's presence might be a dream. However, Yamada calmly explains the situation, assuring her that he's truly there to take care of her. Although stood on her feet for a while, she is scummed by intensive weakness. She fails to keep hold of her body due to dizziness and an outburst headache. Yamada explains how he rescued her when she fainted in the bike racks. Under the influence of high emotions due to fever, Akane sobs thanking Yamada for coming to her rescue. He saved her where there was none around, and Akane feels that she could have died due to intense fears. Deep down in her heart, Akane can't shake off the feeling that Yamada intentionally sought her out because he cares for her deeply. She senses that their meeting was not a mere coincidence, but a deliberate act on Yamada's part to be there for her in her time of need. The way he tirelessly tended to her during her illness, his unwavering support, and the genuine concern in his eyes all seem to affirm her intuition. Before their conversation can move forward, Akane groans in pain due to a sudden cramp in her leg. Yamada quickly jumps on the bed, holds her leg, and gently rubs the area. Akane panics at his sudden touch and moves her legs here and there. However, to her surprise, his method proves effective in instantly curing her cramp. The next morning, Akane musters the courage to express her heartfelt gratitude to Yamada for staying up all night to take care of her. Although she feels a bit embarrassed for causing him so much trouble, Yamada gently reminds Akane to get herself checked by a doctor after a day or two to ensure she fully recovers. As Yamada departs, Akane's heart swells with gratitude and affection for him. Momo goes to Akane's apartment with groceries as she assists Akane in organizing the refrigerator. Akane says that fever has knocked her flat and she does not have any stamina left to compose herself. Momo anxiously inquires if she has been to the hospital for treatment and learns that Yamada took Akane to the hospital the night before. Momo takes a jab at Akane and inquires if she is dating Yaman behind her back, but Akane confirms that although Yamada is a nice guy, they are just friends. But Momo does not look convinced. She finds it hard to believe that a man is extensively taking care of a woman without being in a relationship with her. Moreover, Akane does not want to fall in her love after being dumped at Takuma's hand recently. Once Momo departs, Akane cooks a meal for herself as she studies. She receives a text from Yamada probing her well-being, and Akane decides to answer him when she is well and truly recovered. With nothing much to do, Akane logs in to play FOS. She heard the rumors of a new girl in their group and wondered if she can find her in the lobby. She finds Ida standing beside the new joiner girl. Akane and Tsubaki, having introduced themselves, enter the game with Ida for a thrilling monster hunting adventure. At first, Tsubaki seems hesitant, but Akane encourages her to express herself. As they confront a ferocious Demetal, they unleash relentless strikes and vehement attacks. However, to their surprise, a monster seems to grow stronger with each blow. Akane and Tsubaki give it their all, but they fail to overthrow the powerful beast. Realizing they need help, Akane decides to call Yamada for guidance. Yamada explains that the monster they are facing could be the demo boss who occasionally appears at the beginning of a game. He advises them to attack during specific durations when their efforts will be effective, and outside those hours, their attacks would prove futile. After receiving the helpful advice, Akane confesses to Yamada that her true motive for calling was simply to hear his voice, a fact that she couldn't hold back. As the call ends, Akane's heart is filled with a mix of excitement and nervousness. She immediately calls Momo to meet at the nearby cafe. Meanwhile, Tsubaki discloses she got into the game for various reasons, and now she doesn't know what she initially wanted to do. Ada tells her to just go for it and make a move. In real life, Tsubaki likes Akane's personality. She finalizes that she is kind and easy to talk to. Meanwhile, Ada assists Tsubaki repair her armor. Sitting under a tree, Ada inquires if she liked the guild. Tsubaki is relieved that everyone is friendly and apologizes for being uninterested in the game. Instead, she is here after things that matter more than these games. Tsubaki expresses that whenever she looks at Yamada, a fear engulfs her, abstaining her from making the first move. Eda responds that there is nothing in making the first move when you aspire to bring a change. The next day, Akane heads to the nearby cafe to see Momo. She shares that there's something she couldn't express over the phone and asks for Momo's thoughts on why her ex broke up with her. Momo seems disappointed she is seeing Akane after a while since her recovery. While Momo had been seeing a few group dates, Momo was expecting some fun talk instead of what she perceives as nonsense. Suddenly, two guys from Momo's previous group interrupt the conversation and annoy them. Ida, who works as a waiter in a cafe, rushes for their help and drives away those men. His effort of saving them from the scoundrels impresses Momo. Shocked by Ida's good looks, Momo cannot hold herself from inquiring about Ida. Akane tells her that Ida is in the same guild as Yamada, and Momo claims that the game that she is playing is better than going on group dates. After Ida's shift, Akane approaches him and says she wants to talk to him about something. Says there's something she wants to talk to him about. Akane remembers the first time she met Princess Ruri in-game. Princess Ruri offered to repair her armor with a beginner's discount as she walked through town in battered armor. They reach a place where Akane can talk freely to Ida. Akane wants to tell Ida she likes someone but is too shy to speak, so Momo speaks up for her and tells Ida that Akane likes Yamada. Ada expresses that he is happy to hear about Akane and that she has looked over the past and decided to move on with her life. However, Akane fears that in an attempt to make things better, she ends up messing things up badly. Ida inquires about the person she's in love with and trembles in shock to learn that it's his best friend Yamada. Ida goes on to share that he has known Yamada for a long time and attests that he is a good person. He adds that he might be rude at times, but he is kind and has a big heart. Being straightforward with Yamada is a better option. Ida and Momo want Akane to confess immediately. Akane accepts their advice, thanks her friend, and hurries to Yamada's place. As Akane leaves, Momo wishes that Akane does not get her heart broken. She then introduces herself to Ida and asks if he has a girlfriend. Excited yet nervous, Akane makes her way toward Yamada's place, contemplating the potential outcomes of her proposal. Despite facing uncertainty, she remains determined to go against the odds. As she reaches his door, she takes a moment to compose herself, only to hear the door lock and see Yamada standing before her. In his presence, her courage wavers and she finds herself at a loss for words. Yamada then reveals that he's leaving for cram school, but suggests they talk on their way to the nearby subway. Caught in a dilemma, Akane is unsure of how to express her feelings to Yamada. Lost in her thoughts, Akane almost smashes into a car, but Yamada saves her. As they reach the subway, Yamada expresses his exigency and tells her that he'll call her after class instead. After class, it starts raining and Yamada shares his umbrella with Tsubaki. Yamada leaves his umbrella with Tsubaki, but she chases after him and loses her glasses. Yamada hurries back and helps her with the glasses. Tsubaki accidentally confesses that she likes him and requests Yamada to be with her. Meanwhile, Yamada texts Akane, entailing Yamada's request to postpone the call for tomorrow. While tutoring Runa, Aida asks for yesterday's confession. Yamada thinks Aida is talking about Tsubaki and says he's thinking about it. Aida says he should answer soon, but he does not realize that the proposal came from Tsubaki instead. Yamada visits Akane at work to apologize. Akane notices Yamada feeling down. Meanwhile, Yamada confesses that it's hard for him to understand others' feelings and he does not fit in society. However, Akane cheers him up, saying that he's one of those who don't talk much, but they are always ready to help others out in their time of need. The next day, Yamada and Tsubaki meet near the bridge to discuss yesterday's proposal. Tsubaki has mustered all her courage to not only hear Yamada's response, but also to confess her long-suppressed emotions for him. With a heart full of sincerity, she expresses that no one could love Yamada more than she does, as her feelings for him have been growing since their first interaction back in the first year. Fearlessly, Tsubaki opens her heart, unafraid of the possibility of losing Yamada, and she feels grateful that he's giving her his full attention. On the other hand, Yamada listens attentively, allowing her to say everything she wishes to express, respecting her emotions and her honesty. After she finishes, Yamada gently responds that he does not have any romantic feelings for her. Despite facing rejection, Tsubaki remains thankful for the opportunity to share her emotions with him. Gutted by the rejection and tears plundering her eyes, she notices oil-based paint in Yamada's hand and inquires if this belongs to the person he likes, and Yamada affirms in response. Tsubaki says that she is familiar with the girl he likes and she found Akane a very nice person indeed. Despite her feelings, Tsubaki responds with empathy, understanding that Yamada's heart belongs elsewhere. Takezo hosts Guild's BBQ party at a lavish hotel, and Akane sprints to make it in time with others. She looked around for Yamada but couldn't find him. Everyone enjoys food and appreciates Takezo for arranging such exquisite delicacies for them. Akane drinks too much, and when Yamada arrives, he finds her drunk Akane doing strange acts. On their way home, Akane holds her hand, and when she feels stuck in the street, he immediately helps her out. Akane puts her hand on his shoulder. Yamada looks towards her, his eyes filled with care and love for Akane. She wanted to hold his hand, but could not stimulate enough courage. Finally arriving at her house, Yamada takes a deep breath and musters the courage to confess his feelings for her. Tears well up in her eyes, and Akane runs into Yamada's arms, reciprocating his love. As they pour out their feelings for each other, she can't help but wonder if it's all too good to be true, afraid that the events of the night might just be a dream. The next day morning turns out to be Akane's best morning in recent times. She receives a call from Yamada, who reiterates his words from yesterday. Momo comes to her apartment, impatiently looking for Akane with hundreds of questions for her to answer. Akane meets Yamada at a cafe. On their way back home, Akane expresses her desire for the two of them to hold hands while walking whenever they are together. Yamada sharply agrees to her desire and holds her hand as they walk toward Akane's place.